You're interested in someone like him? I feel so... God. Oh my goodness. Good evening. This is the Lion of Legend, and welcome back to 14 Days with You. Alright, so we are at the start of day 3. Let's see up on the top left if our hearts have changed at all for any of the other characters. Okay. Nothing significant. The usual sounds of city life and traffic pull me away from my slumber, and I wake to the sight of an unfamiliar ceiling. This wasn't my bedroom, and this certainly wasn't my bed. Last I checked, my duvets were a patterned purple, a housewarming gift from Violet when I first moved into my apartment, not this dark shade of black. Confused, I rubbed the sleep from my eyes in order to fully take in the rest of the room, and just like that, memories from yesterday come flooding back. Oh, right. Ren offered to let me stay the night due to the freak storm that swept over Corland Bay. It was sweet of him to do, and it had me wondering where he was right now. Was he still fast asleep? Or perhaps he was already awake? Deciding there's no time like the present to find out, I stretch out the knots in my body, wake myself up fully, and jump out of bed. As soon as I walk out into the hallway, the mouth-watering scent of something sweet and sugary greets me, and it almost has my feet floating towards the kitchen. Curiosity, or perhaps hunger, takes over my body, and before I know it, I find myself navigating through the maze of Ren's stupidly large apartment. Speaking of the devil. There, Ren stands in his kitchen, hunched over the stove with a spatula in one hand, and what looks to be a recipe pulled up on his phone in the other. He doesn't seem to notice my presence yet, so I take the opportunity to study him a little bit more. And although I could only see most of his backside and side profile, I could easily make out the concentrated look on his face as his gaze flits back and forth between his phone and the pan. But just when I think he's about to turn around, Ren lets out a surprised noise and immediately lifts the pan from the stove. Fuck. Hearing Ren swear so casually was still something I had to get used to, but that wasn't what made me speechless right now. Sniffing the air, the smell of something burning invades my nostrils and has me retreating back into the living space for some fresh air. Wow, did Ren really manage to burn a pancake? Or maybe he just wasn't that confident in cooking. Regardless, seeing him put so much effort into something so trivial did manage to pull at my heartstrings. Deciding I've had my fill of watching Ren, I finally make myself known. How will you respond? Let's we'll give him a hug. Quietly tiptoeing behind the taller man, I wait for the perfect opportunity to strike, before wrapping my arms around his waist and resting my head on his broad backside. Lion? I didn't hear you. Despite his flustered outburst, Ren doesn't seem to move from my hold. In fact, he almost seems to melt and lean into my touch instead. Almost as if to confirm my thoughts, I feel him wrap one of his arms around my waist to pull me in for a brief hug. Good morning, Lion. I was going to surprise you with breakfast in bed. Sorry, did I take too long? It was like I flicked an invisible switch, because all of a sudden, Ren was back to the usual, timid personality that I'd grown to know. Aw, you don't have to go through all that trouble for me. It's fine. I wanted to, really. Here. Without giving me a second to spare, Ren conjures up a plate full of thick, fluffy pancakes from somewhere behind him, alongside a few toppings as well. I didn't manage to burn these ones, at least. Eat as much as you like. I'll have this one. He gestures to the burnt pancakes still stuck on the frying pan. No amount of washing and scrubbing would restore that pan to its former glory. Giving Ren a pitiful look, I deposit a few fluffy pancakes onto my own plate before offering the rest to him as well. Ren, you've made enough food to feed an army. Why don't we share? It's okay. I made them all for you, exactly how you like them. Oh? And how do you know how I like my pancakes? Deciding to tease him a little, I throw the lighthearted accusation into the air and hope that I'll catch it. Huh? Oh, I don't. I suppose... Don't people normally enjoy pancakes this way? I thought maybe... There he goes again, getting flustered beyond belief while his cheeks flush a deep shade of red. It really was adorable. Relax, I'm only teasing you. These pancakes are delicious, by the way. Oh, you were just joking. His mood immediately seems to perk up once he hears my compliments. You like them? Really? You're not lying? Then I'll make them for you again sometime. Only if you want, that is. It's no problem at all. I really don't mind. How about you just focus on eating first? Aren't you hungry? I snacked on a few pancakes while cooking them. Don't worry about me. You just eat. Do you want some different toppings? I've got more strawberries in the fridge. Something inside me told me that Ren was lying, but I didn't feel like calling him out on it. I'm good for now, but thank you, really. Seemingly satisfied with my response, or lack thereof, Ren lets out a pleased hum and instead moves away to busy himself with washing the dishes. My gaze follows him, and I absent-mindedly catch a glimpse at the clock on one of the shelves. 8 o'clock on the dot. Wait a second. 8 o'clock? I was going to be late for work. As if picking up on my panicked behavior, Ren halts his movements and sends me a curious glance. Crap. I'm going to be late for work again if I don't leave now. I still need to walk home and get changed and... Hey, it's okay, Lion. Calm down. Look, your clothes from yesterday are washed and dry. Why don't you change into them, and when you're ready, I can drop you off at work. Ren. There I go again, relying on this enigma of a man and taking up too much of his kind hospitality. I was already overstaying my welcome by using his dryer and sleeping in his spare bed, but now here I was, eating his food and being exactly 5 minutes away from getting a lift in his car. He really should be the one called Angel instead of me. Thank you so much. I owe you my entire life. And I thought I was dramatic. Another date with you will do just fine. His soft smile is the last thing I see before I head back into the guest bedroom to change. But before I can make it 3 feet away, Ren's voice calls out to me once more. Oh, but I should warn you, I don't exactly drive a car. Well, how are you going to drop me off then? Turns out, Ren didn't actually own a car like I expected. He owned a damn sports motorcycle. All black, sleek, and scary. But what surprised me the most were the faded "Always with You" sticker decals that adorned the tank. So Ren was a fan of that webcomic as well? I always assumed the community was rather small. There wasn't much talk about the webcomics online, so it was nice to know someone else enjoyed it as much as I did. But just as I was about to bring the topic up, my vision goes dark as Ren places a helmet over my head with a smile. He fastens and adjusts the strap before motioning towards the back of his bike with an expectant look. Admittedly, I was a bit hesitant to hop on that thing, but Ren assured me that he'd tell me what to do and keep me safe the entire time. Daunting couldn't even begin to describe how I felt when the engine turned on, and I was certain Ren had scratch marks with how tightly I was clinging onto him, but I somehow came out of it unscathed. I even managed to bag myself a nice, warm hoodie that smelled like Ren, even if its only purpose was to protect me from the wind and flying debris. And when we parted in front of the library with a friendly goodbye, Ren waited until I was inside the building before taking off. But I barely make it 3 feet inside before a mess of blonde hair enters my field of view and almost knocks me over. "Lion! There you are! Quick, I need your help!" Eleanor's anxious demeanor catches me off guard, and I immediately do a sweep of the library for anything out of place. But I'm hardly given any time to take in my surroundings before Eleanor reaches for my arm and all, but drags me behind the reception counter and towards a mountain of paperwork. Stacks upon stacks of books, files, newspapers, and manila folders cover the entire expanse of their desk, and for the briefest moment, it almost resembled a messy archive repository rather than her workstation. What's all this? This was supposed to be sorted out yesterday. I swear I did it already. In fact, I know I did. I remember leaving it all in Conan's office before I left work yesterday, so you can imagine my surprise when I saw it back on my desk this morning. Eleanor seems genuinely concerned, especially with how she's flitting about and pacing back and forth in front of me. It was almost like she'd seen a ghost, and if I didn't know any better, I honestly would have believed it. "Please help me. If Conan finds out I somehow messed up again, I don't know what will happen." Hey, don't worry, I'll help. And I doubt Conan will get mad. You know how he is. I suppose you're right. Her shoulders seem to visibly relax at my words, and she slumps into her chair with a heavy sigh. "Thank you so much, Lion. Do you think you can manage the stack of books? I'll handle all of the files." Without missing a beat, lest our boss magically appear somewhere behind us, we immediately get to work. Time flies by quickly when I have my chatty coworker to keep me company. She fills me in on how the freak storm caught everyone off guard, and how some of the patrons shared the same idea of seeking refuge within the library as well. Apparently, Eleanor was the only one around to keep an eye on things, and from the sounds of it, she seemed to take on the leadership role like a pro. Still, discussing her whereabouts had me thinking. That reminds me, where did you go the other day? The other day? What do you mean? You remember Ren, the pink-haired guy? Oh, Loverboy. Yeah, him. After we had that conversation with Ren, I never saw you afterwards. Oh? Let me think. I watch as she inclines her head to the side to think, and all too quickly, she snaps her fingers and gives me an affirmative nod. Oh, that's right. Well, this is a bit embarrassing, but I ended up going home early. I must have accidentally bumped into something while cleaning the stockroom the other day, and before I knew it, one of the shelves came tumbling down on me. It wasn't until a little while later when Conan found me and pulled me out. You knocked over an entire shelf. Miss Creston. Knowing I was only teasing, Eleanor sends me a sheepish smile and bows her head to hide her reddening cheeks. But now that I think about it, the shelves in the stockroom had always seemed relatively stable to me. My coworker wasn't known for her strength, so it didn't make much sense for it to topple over that easily. But thankfully, Eleanor elaborates more, almost as if she could hear the gears in my head working overtime. Well, I suppose it was a tad bit odd. I mean, I've worked in this library for more than 5 years now, and not once have I heard so much as a creak from those shelves. It does seem strange, yeah. Well, I have no doubt Conan will be installing new storage shelves soon. Oh, speaking of, did you notice the new awnings outside the library? I suppose that sudden storm from yesterday had something to do with it. In fact... Oh, maybe you heard it on the news already. I heard that all the rain... Our conversation gets cut short as I watch Eleanor's attention drift behind me and towards the flashing red light above one of the shelves. Duty calls, I guess. As soon as she stands, I shoot her an appreciative smile, which she returns with an apologetic one of her own, and meanders her way towards the aisle. Now left to my own devices, I go back to sorting through the books and putting them into separate piles. I manage to get a solid 10 minutes to myself before the sudden sense of unease creeps up on me. It felt as though someone was watching me, so I take a curious sweep across the vicinity to try and locate the source. But nothing seemed out of the ordinary. People were studying, others were quietly typing away at computers, and I could even spot the back of Eleanor's head from her spot near the fantasy fiction aisle. Nothing was out of place, yet that unnerving feeling of having eyes on the back of my head still lingered. In fact, now that I thought about it, it was eerily similar to the feeling I got when I was walking home a few days ago. Violet's words about someone breaking into my apartment echoes in my mind before it all suddenly dawns upon me. The supposed person watching me, could it somehow be linked? No, definitely not. Shaking my head, I try to dismiss those unsettling thoughts before they'd start to develop into something more sinister. There was no one watching me. After all, there was hardly anything impressive about me to warrant a stalker in the first place. I was as plain as they come, and if some asshole really did break into my house, they left empty-handed. That alone clearly proved that I don't own anything worth stealing, except maybe my limited edition Attack on Giant figurines. But even then, I remember thoroughly inspecting my entire apartment once I got home. Nothing was out of place, nor looked like it had been touched. Everything was as I left it that morning. Yet it still didn't explain why I was feeling this way. Fear and apprehension seemed to overwhelm my senses so much that my mind barely registers the sound of something rustling, and I looked down to see that I had been worrying the papers in my hands for the past few minutes. Have I been stressing out that badly? Geez, I really was letting all this paranoia get the best of me. Shaking my head once more, I decide it's best not to let those thoughts fester and grow into something far bigger than it should be. No one broke into my apartment, and no one was watching me right now. I was making a mountain out of a molehill, and nothing was going to scare me. Hello? Whoa! Instead of some creepy stalker dressed in all black, I was met with blonde hair and expensive-looking clothing. Was this the person I felt watching me? It was difficult to make out her words over the loud, rapid sounds of my heartbeats, so I try my best to calm down before responding. Sorry, I didn't notice you come in. Ahem. Welcome to the Courland Bay Library. Can I help you with anything? I hope I sounded professional enough, though I'm sure there was still a lingering sense of fear in my words and a facial expression to match. But it starts to dissipate as I take in the woman's appearance. Her green eyes seem oddly familiar to me, but what gives it all away is how the woman slightly inclines her head to the side as she looks over me with concern. Surely not. Was that? I don't suppose... Are you Kiara? Eleanor's told me all about you. In the flesh, I'm actually here to visit my darling sister, would you believe? But now you've piqued my interest. She shoots me a harmless wink and rests her hands atop the reception counter. Wow, even the clang of her jewelry sounds expensive, and I can't help but look at her in awe. Tell me, what else has Nori said about me? How will you respond? I actually don't remember anything that Nori has said about Kiara. I don't even remember where Kiara came in conversation. Let's see. Well, who's Nori again? Oh boy. Must be Eleanor, right? Yeah. Okay. What has Eleanor said about Kiara? Oh boy. Maybe it was fashion. She better. I didn't pursue a career in fashion for nothing. Did you know I designed her handbag? It's from my latest spring collect. Lion! As if summoning Eleanor herself, she emerges from somewhere behind me and joins us at the front desk. Kiara, what are you doing here? There she is. What? Am I not allowed to see my little sis? I'm at work right now. You could have texted me in advance. But I wanted to surprise you. And look, I come bearing gifts. At that, Kiara places down a few bags branded with high-end prints and designer logos. Sorry, darling. If I knew I'd be meeting you here, I would have brought extra. But I'm sure there's something for you in one of the bags as well. Pick whatever Eleanor doesn't want. I genuinely wished I could be rich enough to say something like that. The sisters seem fully engrossed in each other's presence, so I leave them alone so that they can have their moment to catch up. After all, I didn't know how long it had been since Eleanor and Kiara had seen each other, and the mountain of work in front of me wasn't going to sort itself out in the meantime. But before I can silently slip away and sit back down, a tattooed arm boxes me in and commands my attention. And for the second time today, the expensive smell of wealth and luxury floods my senses. Only this time, I knew the person it belonged to. Damn, who are they? Seemingly out of nowhere, Tio appears with that familiar smirk on his face and an unbothered drawl in his tone. He's absolutely shameless with how his eyes take in both of the sisters' appearances, before he's leaning more of his weight onto his arm and shooting me an expectant look. Don't even think about it, Tio. Trust me, you don't want to know what I'm thinking about right now. Given how he leans even closer to my side with a sultry grin, I end up believing his words. After all, I wouldn't put it past Tio to think up multiple ways to cause a scene in his free time. Not jealous, are you? Why would you even... Whether or not it was my sudden outburst that captures their attention, Eleanor and Kiara finally seem to notice us, and I thank my lucky stars for a chance to escape this conversation. Perhaps I could sneak off to the employees' lounge while everyone was busy talking. I'm sure... You work here too? I've got a few things here that you could check out. Ugh. Despite my disgust at Tio's blatant flirting, Eleanor seems to be eating it up with a slight blush on her cheeks. Oh, actually, I'm just visiting. I don't work here, but little Nori over here does. I'm sure she can help you out. Despite her friendly tone, Kiara seems to be passively shutting down Tio's attempts at flirting and redirecting it towards Eleanor instead. Yet, Tio doesn't seem to be picking up on it, instead choosing to lean a little more against the counter, so that his muscles flex under his form-fitted shirt and crosses his ankles. You're not from around here, are you? I'd remember a face like yours. The name's Theodore, by the way, but cuties like you can call me Tio. Charming. I'm Kiara. And no, I'm only in town for a few weeks. I'm visiting some relatives and finding some inspiration before I head back home. Inspiration, huh? I could show you around. Well, aren't you fun? What about my baby sister? Huh? But I'm older than you. Come on, live a little, Nori. You always tell me how you're holed up at work all the time. I suppose, but... Looks like you're in need of a bit of fun. I can help with that. Have either of you been to the aquarium yet? It opened recently. Not yet, but I'll have to give your offer a pass, I'm afraid. Aquarium's not your style. You're not my style. Ouch. Despite the low blow to his ego, Tio didn't look the least bit offended. In fact, he seems to thrive off of it. But as if fate felt the urge to intervene, Kiara's phone suddenly goes off and startles everyone. Sorry, give me a sec, I need to take this call. She slips away before any of us can have the chance to respond, and without missing a beat, Tio immediately takes her previous spots beside Eleanor. And what about you? Me? Don't see anyone else around, princess. Oh, well, I mean, I think it'd be fun, but I suppose it would be a bit awkward if it's just you and me. You heard her, doll. As if finally acknowledging my presence, Tio turns to me with an expecting look on his face. Why don't you tag along? I'll even see if Leon wants to join the fun. It'll be like a double date. At that, Eleanor visibly seems to relax a little bit. I spare a quick glance in her direction, and I can pick up on the barest hint of hope in her eyes. Wait, she wanted to go on a date with Tio. I don't know, Elle. Oh, what? Got better things to do? Look, I'll pay for everything. I can even pick you up as well if you want. Sound good? Not that I'd ever openly admit it to Tio, but his offer was finally starting to sound tempting. I mean, free food and a free outing? It was too good to refuse. However, how will you respond? Well, I've got this dude who's chasing me around, who's pretty obsessive with me and might kill you. But it looks like me saying that is not an option. Sure, why not? I find myself agreeing with his offer, but before I can regret anything, Tio cuts me off. Attaboy. Knew you weren't going to chicken out on us. Then it's settled. Leon and I will meet you both here tomorrow after work. What time do you finish? Around... There you are, Lion. Ah, I didn't realize you were busy. Finally. It was as if someone had heard my prayers this time. Conan emerges from somewhere behind me. What was up with that today? And offers me an escape from the current conversation. And without missing a beat, I turn towards my savior and spare him a thankful glance. I make sure to silently apologize to Eleanor as well, clearly uneasy with the thoughts of leaving her alone with Tio. But she seems all too happy with how she suddenly shoos me away with a hand behind her back. Sure, I can slip away for a moment. Did you need something? Just needed an extra pair of hands to sort through some boxes. But if you're busy, I'll manage it by myself. It's fine, I could use a breather. Okay, so perhaps I didn't need to announce that so joyfully. With warm cheeks, I turn back towards Eleanor and Tio to send them one final apologetic look before following after Conan. Apologies for this. I didn't mean to steal you from your friends. This happened to be sorting through all of the books a coworker managed to knock over this morning, and making sure they were all in the correct category before putting them back onto the cart. It felt eerily similar to what I had been previously doing with Eleanor, only this time, there weren't any Tio-shaped annoyances to keep me company. But, man, I swear, Conan had to be the only boss who would be perfectly fine with their employees slacking off to talk with their friends instead. He hadn't said a word about Tio, and possibly Kiara too, depending on how long he'd been standing behind me, and it seemed more than okay with us huddling around the reception desk. Deciding not to push my luck, I returned Conan's soft look with one of my own. It's fine, don't worry about it. I've been meaning to ask you something, actually. Has everything been going all right with you? Nothing shady has been happening lately. What do you mean? You haven't heard the news? There's been a few murders happening in the Bay Area recently. Admittedly, I have been worried for your safety as of late. You live by yourself, correct? Yeah, but my neighbor checks in with me almost regularly. Now that I think about it, she's also been concerned for my safety. That's good, I'm glad. Listen, if something ever happens... Conan awkwardly glances over his shoulder before returning his gaze back to me. Nothing but sincerity stares back, and I find myself in a stunned silence. Here, it's my personal number. But due to the lack of clarification, I ended up sending him a confused look instead of thanking him. I know you've only recently moved back to Cortland Bay, but you've yet to put someone down as your emergency contact. I'm worried you won't have anyone to call in case something does happen. I want to make sure you're safe at all times. Oh, thank you, Conan. Of course. He gives my shoulder a gentle pat before resuming his original task. The conversation falls back into an easy, comfortable silence, and I pocket his number before pouring all of my focus towards the books laid out in front of me. The rest of my shift passes by uneventfully, and at some point, Eleanor informs me that Kiara had to leave for a work-related matter and wouldn't be coming back for a few days. She'd even asked Eleanor to give me her number as well, alongside mentioning something about sharing more embarrassing stories about little Nori the next time we talk, whatever that meant. Still, it was really nice to finally meet Eleanor's sister, and it was even kinder of her to give me a fountain pen before she left. Or, at least I assumed it was Kiara. I found the expensive-looking box sitting on my desk once I returned, and I wasted no time in opening it up and examining the contents. The pen itself appeared to be made from extremely high-quality materials, and the cursive LR logo looks rather fancy underneath the light. I made a mental note to get something for Kiara as well, before pocketing the pen next to Conan's number and packing up my belongings for the day. But as I'm slipping out the library's back door, I noticed a familiar broad backside, a patch of blonde hair, and a bright red Hawaiian shirt standing near the alleyway's entrance. As if sensing my presence, Leon turns around and greets me with one of his familiar warm smiles. "G'day, Darl. Been a while." He sends me a toothy grin before making space for me within the group. Eleanor greets me with a delicate wave, and Tio looks moderately annoyed, as usual. Tio was just introducing me to Eleanor and yarning on about this little outing he has planned. Hey, how come you never told me you've never been to the aquarium before? Makes sense, though. I reckon it was built a bit after you left the bay, right? So I doubt you had time to check it out. Pretty much. Most of my free time has been taken up with moving and unpacking boxes. I couldn't help but find myself agreeing with his words. It was crazy how Leon seemed to know me so well, even though we hadn't had the chance to speak to each other like this in a while. But I'm curious to see what it's like. What about you, Nori? I couldn't help but let Kiara's nickname for her slip. Oh, yes, I'm the same. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I've never been to an aquarium before, so this should be fun. Well, here's hoping the weather will be more lenient tomorrow. It was pissing down buckets yesterday, wasn't it? Did you make it home all right, Sunfish? All of a sudden, that eerie feeling comes back, and I resist the urge to turn around and look behind me. I only now notice that I've had my back to the dark alleyway this entire time. Lion? Sorry, what was that? You alright? You look like you've seen a ghost. I watch as Leon looks behind me before glancing at Tio and Eleanor for what seems like reassurance. No, it's nothing. I guess I've had a long day at work. Nah, I get it. Feeling tired? You should head on home then. Please, don't let us keep you longer than we should. Want me to drop you off? Car's out front. As much as I appreciated everyone's concern, I honestly wanted to be left alone right now to clear my head, and going on a long walk would surely do me wonders. Besides, it was still somewhat bright out, and there were people around, so I had no reason to worry about my non-existent stalker. I also heard that some new merchandise arrived at the local manga store, which I had been meaning to check out, so that would surely help to get my mind off things. It was along my route home anyway. What harm could possibly come out of a quick detour? At that thought, I quickly placate everyone's concern before bidding my goodbyes and heading off alone down the street. It wasn't until I got far enough away from the library that the eerie feeling started to dissipate. The nostalgic smell of comic books and plastic greets me as I enter the all-too-familiar manga store, and I immediately beeline my way towards the anime aisle. I was set on collecting the last remaining accessories for my mini Attack on Giants display, and I wasn't about to let my paranoia get in the way of that. But as I was passing through a few of the aisles, I noticed a familiar shade of pink near the cashier. Is that Ren? I didn't even notice his motorbike out front, if he even brought it. Up until now, I always assumed he walked everywhere. And even though he was wearing a mask and had his hair tied back, I could easily make out his large and lanky frame anywhere. Sneaking closer, I notice how he appears to be in a hushed conversation with the manager about something confidential, if their closeness was anything to go by, before he places a thick manila envelope into her hands and leans back. Oh? I wonder what's inside. Was Ren trading in some old manga? Oh, what if it's Attack on Giants? Though, if it is AOG, then I'm not really sure why he'd want to trade them in. With how popular the franchise is currently, there isn't much of a high demand. If anything, there's too much consumable media being produced right now. Everywhere I go, all I see is Haruko, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And speaking of my beloved Haruko, now that I get a better look at Ren, isn't that the limited edition spring Haruko hoodie? I thought they weren't selling them anymore. But just as I'm about to make myself known to ask questions, Ren is already turning on his heel and slipping behind the large racks filled with cosplays and gaming-themed apparel. His height does him no favors though, as I watch his head peek out from the top while he bobs and weaves his way towards the side entrance. At the very moment, my phone decides to jump scare me by suddenly going off, and it startles me enough to temporarily forget about Ren. Letting out a string of curses, I reach into my back pocket and pull it out, only to see Moth's name flash on the screen. With a grin, I accept the video call and hold the phone up to my face. Hey, listen, now isn't really a good time to talk, but... Oh no, that's terrible. Get well soon. Or, sorry for your loss. Or whatever. Anyway, listen. Guess who won an all-paid holiday trip overseas? Me, that's who. It had been a while since I'd last seen Moth's face, but they appeared just as boisterous as I remembered them. And for free, too. I mean, okay, yeah, I still need to pay for food and stuff, but... Hey, where are you? I'm in a manga store. Hold on, can we backtrack for a second? You got free tickets? To where? Is that a Haruko figurine? Can you get it for me? Please? Please. Moth. I'll pay you back. Promise I'll pay for shipping too. It's so cute. Look at his little outfit. Look at his tiny little jacket and tiny little shoes. With an eye roll, I reach behind me for the figurine, but not before picking up the accessories I originally came in here for, and slowly make my way towards the cash register. Once Moth's hoots and hollers calm down, I gently try to coax them back onto the original topic. Oh, right. Oh, you asked where I'm going. Well, it's actually a surprise. Seriously? A good surprise, though. Hey, you're still in Corla. What is going on with the text? For a brief moment, their screen starts to lag and a loading symbol pops up. Moth? Beck, I'll be in Almo. That's okay with you? Their voice cuts in and out, giving an almost robotic effect before the screen eventually fades to black. With a heavy sigh, I end the call and shoot Moth a text to let them know that they got disconnected yet again. But as I absent-mindedly look out the window, I notice the blurry outline of Ren's figure sitting on a bench outside, busying himself with what looks like a phone in his hands. Next! The cashier's voice pulls me away from my thoughts, and I quickly pay for my purchases, all while sparing not-so-secretive glances at Ren from beyond the shop window to make sure that he's still there. It was strange, but I couldn't help but hope I'd get a chance to catch up with him on my way out. I know it had been barely more than a day since I last saw him, but I still wanted to thank him for the date he took me on yesterday. The cashier pulls my attention away by handing me a bag and receipt, and I give them my thanks before making a beeline towards the exit. But just as the door swings open, I notice that Ren had already left. He was no longer on the bench where I last saw him, and I couldn't spot him on either end of the street either. It was like he was never there in the first place, and I almost find myself wondering if I had imagined the whole thing. I was starting to see him everywhere anyway, and it was beginning to come across as creepy. The Corlin Bay isn't that big of a coastal town in retrospect, so I'm sure we were bound to run into each other again sooner or later. I mean, I literally met Ren at my own workplace because we shared a few common interests in books. His just so happened to be about native flora. That kind of stuff wasn't something either of us could control, and I was most likely looking too deep into it. Still, it felt strange all the same. Oh well, there was no use dwelling over it. I still had Ren's number saved in my contacts anyway, so I could always shoot him a text or even a call if I really started to miss him. It was beginning to get dark once I arrived back at my apartment complex, so I quickly ushered my way up the staircase and onto my floor. But as I'm making the long trek up the stairs, I bump into someone lingering around the corner and almost end up tumbling down. Whoa! Hey, watch it! Glancing up, I noticed that it's the cashier from yesterday who was glaring daggers at me while I try to steady myself with the railing. That was Olivia, wasn't it? She makes no effort to help me, though she does move to the side in order to give me space at the top of the stairs. It's then when I take notice of the giant basket of laundry in her arms, and it makes me wonder if she was actually going to carry it all the way to the laundromat by herself. Clearly, she was stronger than she looked. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Olivia cuts herself off once the severity of the situation finally sinks in, before she sucks in her cheek and lets out an exasperated chuckle. Seriously? What could she possibly find so funny about this situation? Of all places, a staircase? Really? Your boyfriend sure has a messed up sense of humor. What? No, it's nothing. Look, I didn't mean to knock you down the staircase like that. I've got a lot on my mind lately, and I wasn't looking where I was going. Hey, it happens. It most certainly didn't. But Olivia seemed to be having a rough day, so I wasn't going to make things worse by being rude to her. She already looked on edge for some reason, especially with how she kept sneaking glances over both our shoulders. It was almost like she was looking for something, and I would have asked her about it if she didn't beat me to it. So where's that boyfriend of yours anyway? Not lurking around the corner like a creepy psychopath, is he? Who? Seriously, your boyfriend, the guy you visited the souvenir shop with the other day. Oh, Ren, he's not my boyfriend, we're just... How will you respond? Oh boy. Well, I'm willing to bet that Ren is probably watching us from around the corner, and this response is going to basically lead into how he's going to treat us in the future. So I'm going to just be true to myself and say that he's a guy that I'm interested in, because we're not like together yet, and we are interested because we make bad decisions, but that's what we're going to go with. You're interested in someone like him? I feel so... God. Oh my goodness. Oh man, she's so right though. I feel sorry for you. Excuse me? Nothing. Just the ramblings of a stressed out university student. Anyway, I'm in a rush, so please move. Clearly done with the conversation, Olivia sidesteps me and starts to make her way down the stairwell, but she only manages to get a few feet away before she turns around once more. Resting her laundry basket on a hip, she looks up at me with a unreadable look. You live on this floor as well? Then it looks like we're going to be seeing each other more often. But just some neighborly advice. If you plan on bringing Ren around, keep it down. I'm not afraid to file a noise complaint. And with that, she disappears around the corner. What was that all about? Deciding it wasn't worth my time to mull it all over, I slowly make my way towards my apartment. Not bothering to turn on the light, I toss my keys into the tray, shrug off my jacket, and unceremoniously drop myself onto the couch. Today had been a whirlwind of events and emotions, and the worst part was that it still hadn't ended yet. I still had an hour or so left before I consider any dinner plans, so I figured I might as well spend the evening winding down in the meantime. All too quickly, an idea pops into my head, and I reach over to grab my phone. How will you respond? Oh my goodness. We'll invite someone over. Figuring it'd be best to catch up with someone instead of stewing in my apartment alone, I pull up my contacts list and idly scroll through it. Conan's number immediately captures my attention, being the newest addition to my contacts and sitting near the top of the list, before my curiosity begins to stray once more. Without so much as hesitating, I tap on that person's number and bring the phone closer to my ear. Who did you call? Why is Ren's, name going crazy? Bad choices. We're gonna make bad choices. Odd. I don't remember scrolling all the way down to view his contact details. Nevertheless, I find myself tapping on Ren's name and bringing the phone closer to my ear. He picks up almost immediately, and I can practically feel the excitement and moe flowers expel from the screen and hit me in the face. And before I know it, Ren is agreeing to come over as soon as he can, so I quickly turn the lights back on, clean up the place a bit, and anticipate his arrival. Are we gonna make it through tonight? Barely 10 minutes pass before I hear a loud knocking at my front door. Almost immediately, I leap to my feet and unlock it with a smile. Ren, hey, come on in. I see you're still wearing my hoodie. I also brought some takeout with me, if that's okay. I figured you hadn't had a chance to eat yet. Whoa, how'd you know? It's like you can read minds or something. Barely registering the look on his face, I gently coax Ren into my living room. He makes himself at home on my couch, and I bring a few utensils from my kitchen for the food he so kindly brought. Oh, and by the way, were you at the manga store earlier today? I thought I saw you there. Yeah, I know you did. Because I saw you as well. After I left. I noticed you through the window. Well, that seemed to confirm my thoughts about Ren sitting outside the store. Stabbing my fork into the food, I take a bite and let out a pleased hum from all the delicious flavors dancing on my tongue. Really? You should have said hi. I thought about it, but you seemed really focused on something. And then you got a call, so... yeah. That was my friend Moth. Oh, that reminds me, Ren. At that, his full attention is immediately on me. Takeout long forgotten as the taller male moves in his seat to face me. You like Attack on Giants too, don't you? Your hair and outfits. It was inspired by Haruko, right? I know I must have been coming on a bit strong, but Ren and I have been getting to know each other a bit better over these past few days, and somehow, I knew he wouldn't freak out as much if he knew about my more nerdy side. Sparing a glance at Ren, he seems to be handling it well enough, if the interested yet curious look on his face was anything to go by. In fact, Ren seems almost on the edge of his seat with how he's intently staring at me. He must really be interested in Haruko as well, to garner this sort of reaction. In some way, it was comforting to know we shared a few more similar interests. Haruko is actually one of my favorite characters at the moment. He has been for a while now, actually. Oh, but that's not the point. The point is, Moth loves Haruko too. I could introduce you guys. They're a diehard fan of the anime, and I'm sure they... Oh, Moth is the one who's interested? Almost shyly, he turns his head away and meekly scratches at his jaw. I don't mind, but I wasn't expecting Ren to be so hesitant, and I suddenly felt bad for springing this all onto him without considering how he might feel as well. Hey, no need to force yourself. If you don't want to, that's okay. I just thought it'd be nice to let them have someone else to talk to, you know? Moth has trouble making friends, and most of the time, they're only talking to me. Yeah, that's too bad. He sends me a sad look coupled with a frown before returning to the plate of food before him. Although I was thinking about Moth, I really didn't want to force Ren into befriending someone if he didn't want to. Besides, maybe he has trouble forming friendships too. It was a little difficult trying to keep up with his sudden personality shifts, but at this point in our friendship, I was starting to get used to it. Deciding to lift the mood a little, I try to change the subject to something more lighthearted. So, apparently this place has rats. Really, Lion? That was the first thing you could think of? How is that any less awkward than what we were currently... Actually, I didn't want to say anything, but I think I saw one on my way up here. It probably made itself a home in that busted elevator shaft. Seriously? Wait, do you think you could come with me to explain it to my landlord? I swear they... Your landlord isn't doing anything about it? No. I collapse onto the sofa with a dramatic sigh. I honestly don't know what they're doing, if I'm being honest. I've sent so many complaints, but haven't received a reply for any of them. Really? Have you considered just moving? Quite a few times, actually, but... I mean, it looks fine, other than the rats. This place has its charms. I mean, it was a bit overwhelming during the first month, but once you look past the smashed windows and broken elevators, the place is actually really nice. Oh, I must have forgotten. For context, this is like the third time I've gotten into, let's just say, part 2 of this game, part 2 being the video that's going to be uploaded, and I haven't actually booted it up in months, so maybe I just forgot that this place is janky. It's cozy and it has its charms, and there's barely any traffic here. I see. Then it's not so bad here after all, right? I mean, as long as there's no creep trying to break in and steal all your laundry or something. You've got a point there. I think I'd take the rats over a laundry-stealing intruder any day, but now that I think about it, who would want to break in just to steal dirty clothes? While I'm sure Ren only meant it as a joke, it was oddly specific. I just figured that's what normal creep behavior would be. You have a great sense of fashion, and I see your TV is still here, so... Yeah, I guess it would be difficult to lug that down a staircase. They probably should have asked the rats for help. Again with the rats? I couldn't help but let out a laugh at his corny inside joke. Wait, since when did we have our own inside jokes? Not that I really thought about it, the banter I shared with Ren seemed to be very easygoing as of late, despite how serious the topics were supposed to be. I had been worrying all day about this supposed stalker, yet here I was, casually brushing it off as a carefree joke. Still, is everything alright in your neighborhood? I've heard about the murders going on recently. Well, no one I know has gone missing, so I suppose that's good, right? I won't lie though, it is kind of scary knowing there's a killer out there. Yeah, I suppose so. But are you really okay with staying here alone? Doesn't that scare you? I'm sure I'll be fine. I've got my neighbor, Violet, and if it's really necessary, I'm sure I could stay with Leon for a while and... Say, you could always stay with me instead. I mean, you've already stayed the night at my place, so it wouldn't be a bother if you wanted to come over again. I'd honestly sleep better at night knowing you're safe. And I always carry a spare keycard with me anyway. If you'd like, you can hold on to it in case something... I appreciate the offer, Ren, but I can't accept that. It's fine. Besides, you said yourself that living here can get overwhelming. If this can help you in any way... I don't know. Keep it, just in case. I mean, you never know. What if that creep breaks into your apartment again? If that happens, you'd be safer at my place. The lobby is full of security, and they won't let anyone upstairs without proper clearance. Plus, I don't have rats? I won't lie, Ren's offer honestly was tempting. The idea of having somewhere to go in case things got bad was a comforting thought, but something just didn't sit right with me. I know I've been spending a lot of time with Ren recently, but I still wasn't that familiar with him. And sure, maybe I did invite a total stranger over to my place on a whim, but I wasn't going to be swayed just because I felt indebted to Ren. Still, the offer was really tempting, and it wasn't like he was asking me to move in with him or anything. Now that I thought about it, Ren was the one giving me access to his home. It wasn't like I was the one in danger here. He was trusting me enough not to be some kind of crazed killer, much like the one on the news. I can't help but crack a small smile at the somewhat morbid thought, and Ren seems to take it as a positive sign. But before I can dwell on it any further, I watch as he leans over to reach into his back pocket and pulls out something that resembled a plastic card. Ren wastes no time handing it to me, and I take a moment to look it over. His address and unit number are neatly printed at the top, and some kind of obscure barcode is on the bottom. However, the apartment name and the logo in the top right corner are what really captures my attention. Sunshine Hills? I almost forgot he lived in the nicer parts of Cortland Bay. They were known for their high-rise apartments and fancy penthouses, so I'm sure Ren never had to worry about rat infestations or deadbeat landlords. Though, the more I thought about it, the more willing I was to accept his offer. Maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea after all. I couldn't help but wonder what kind of programmer could afford fancy marble flooring, but as always, Ren remained a mystery to me. If this opportunity meant getting to know him better, maybe it would be worth it. Snapping out of my thoughts, I look up from the glossy plastic and focus my attention back to Ren. Seriously though, it wouldn't hurt to keep it. And it's a spare keycard anyway. I can always get more. I already have a stack of them at home. They're really handy too. I can use them to lock up my office and bedroom without a physical key. But I always end up misplacing them all and... Sorry, Lion, am I rambling again? I don't want you to worry or anything. And you never know what might happen. I've seen what's been on the news lately, and I just want you to be safe. He wants me to be safe. Where have I heard that before? Well, I suppose so. Great, then. He glances back at the plastic item in my hands with an expectant look, almost as if he were waiting for me to put it away. And when I carefully shove it into my pocket, Ren seems to visibly relax and lean back into his chair once more. Then that settles it. Come by whenever you want. You don't even need to call. Thanks. I think I'll still call him in advance, or even shoot a text. As lovely as Ren's welcoming hospitality was, I wouldn't want to disrupt or intrude on anything. As if picking up on my sudden silence, he clears his throat, gestures towards the food on the table, and scoops up a giant forkful. Anyway, we should finish this before it gets cold. Oh, yeah, you're right. Deciding to ease the tension once more, I speak the first thing that comes to mind as I stab my fork into the container as well. How will you respond? You look like a hamster. Yeah, Ren, you look like a hamster. Well, it's true. With how Ren was stuffing food into his mouth, he almost looked similar to a fluffy pink hamster. Almost immediately after hearing my words, his cheeks flush a deep red as he chokes down his food. Hamster? Usually I get a fox or puppy. I'm not mad though. Now that I think about it, you kind of look like a chipmunk. Oh my goodness. With an eye roll, I playfully shove Ren's arm and pretend like I didn't agree with his words. The casual banter continues throughout dinner, and soon enough, all the containers were empty and our stomachs were full. I dimmed the lights and switched the TV on at some point to fill the silence between our conversations, and soon enough, Ren and I find ourselves taking an interest in a movie that was currently playing. It was some unknown, sappy rom-com that came out almost a decade ago, yet Ren didn't seem to mind all that much. I wasn't following the plot too keenly, but from what I could gather, the male lead just confessed his love for the main character in the back of his truck. To top it all off, it started raining as some slow, melodic love song came on the radio. The two characters were all too happy to share a sweet kiss with each other in that romantic moment, but the tenderness soon gets cut short once the scene starts to travel down a more heated path. The kisses become more passionate, and before I know it, I'm watching the main character lean across the center console to sit in his lover's lap instead. Clearly, I wasn't expecting this to happen in what I falsely believed was a harmless rom-com, so I dared to glance in Ren's direction to gauge his reaction. Yet aside from the faint dusting of pink on his cheeks, the rest of him seems all too relaxed. There's an arm casually thrown over the back of the couch while the rest of his body is slouched into the plushness of the seat. His lanky limbs are stretched out in front of him, while his thighs are spread out slightly, and the empty space between his legs was beginning to look inviting for some reason. Was it because of the movie? Before I can stop myself, I find my mind wandering. How will you respond? Keep watching the movie. What was I thinking? This movie was clearly messing with my head. Subtly, I slapped my cheeks and focused my attention back to the TV screen. But every so often, my gaze flickers back to Ren to see if he was feeling just as awkward as I was throughout the scene. And it seems I was right. It's almost painful watching him awkwardly clear his throat a few times until his interest ultimately shifts towards my wall instead. I also feel the urge to look away once the couple starts to get even more handsy with each other, and when it starts to become too much to bear, I impulsively change the channel. A monotone voice droning on about the weather fills the silence, and I feel the couch move as Ren shifts in his seat. That was, yeah. They were really going at it, huh? Mm-hmm. Jeez, I can't believe it's somehow even more awkward now. But just as I'm about to do something about it, Ren awkwardly clears his throat and moves to stand up. It's getting a bit late now, isn't it? I should probably start heading home soon. Oh, are you sure? You can stay a bit longer. No, I really should go. Now that I think about it, you need to wake up early, don't you? Yeah, actually. But how did you know that? Oh, you seem like the early bird type. He doesn't seem to elaborate on that, and instead starts to pack up his belongings and head towards the hallway. Deciding that was that, I walked Ren towards the front door with a soft smile on my face. Today had been a lot of fun thanks to him, and I was able to keep my mind off the events that would ultimately transpire tomorrow. I was still unsure about Tio's intentions, but being with Ren helped me to understand that maybe it was wrong of me to judge others so quickly. At first, I thought Ren was just some shy guy with a stuttering problem, but over the course of a few days, I've learned there's more to him than just that. He had his moments of confidence, and it was endearing watching him stand up for the things that he wanted. Perhaps I was being a bit too harsh on Tio. Even he deserved the chance to redeem himself. I suppose I'll give him a chance tomorrow. Lion? Sorry? Crap, I really needed to stop spacing out like that. I asked if you wanted me to lock the door for you. It suddenly hit me like a ton of bricks. I was still standing in the hallway, while Ren was already waiting for me at the door, so I quickly rushed over to him with a flushed expression. Sorry, I was just, busy thinking. I can lock it, thanks though. You do that a lot. It's cute. I almost roll my eyes at his words as I lean against the front door and watch Ren awkwardly shuffle on my doormat. Thanks for today, and sorry for taking up so much of your time. Not at all. Thanks for coming over. Get home safe, okay? Ren's eyes seem to light up the moment I voice my concern over him. Yeah, okay. I will. You too. Or, I mean, you're already at home, so go to bed safe. Or sleep safe. Sleep well? What am I? I can't help but chuckle at his panicked state, and Ren seems to settle once he hears my laughter. Good night, Ren. Good night, Lion. I'll see you tomorrow. The sound of the door shutting drowns out the ending of his sentence. Once I had nothing else left to do for the night, I get changed into some comfy pajamas and brush my teeth before settling into bed. The newest chapter for Always With You was going to drop in a few hours, and I figured I might as well stay up and read it before going to sleep. But my eyes were starting to get droopy, and all my mind could think about was the double date I had planned with Leon, Tio, and Eleanor tomorrow. Man, I sure hope everything will be fine. But I know worrying about it wasn't going to do me any favors, so I let my pent-up stress out on my pillow by smacking it to make it less lumpy. Though the moment I unceremoniously flopped back down, I noticed the cold draft, and the fact that my bedroom window was left wide open. Strange. I don't remember opening it earlier. With a groan, I get up from my bed and go to close it. But once I lock it shut, something moves from within the shadows and startles me. Squinting, I can barely make out the black mass moving through the gaps in the fire escape balcony. What was that? A person? It certainly wouldn't be strange for someone to take a cigarette break at this hour, but I couldn't smell any telltale signs of smoke. Maybe it was my landlord's cat out for a leisurely midnight stroll. That idea seemed more realistic in my mind. Yet, despite my futile attempts at calming myself down, I still somehow find the willpower to go back to bed, rather than opening the window once more and taking another curious peek outside. I didn't have a death wish, nor did I have the stupidity of those cliché horror film characters. But before I turn away, I double-check to make sure that the window is locked shut and the blinds are fully closed. I wasn't about to risk it. Happy with the precautions put in place, I make a hasty dive towards the warmth and safety of my bed. Snuggled deep within my blankets, I find it harder and harder to think about someone breaking in, and even more so with keeping my eyes open. Before I knew it, pink-colored sheep slowly filled my mind as I drifted away. End of day 3. Alright, well, with that, I think I'm going to cut this here. I have been working on the second part for probably longer than I should have. And as I'm reading this now, I got a new aligner. I'm making progression in my Invisalign treatment. I should be done in July, and since I just swapped out aligners the other day, I feel like that definitely probably came across a little bit in this video, so sorry. But now that we're on day 4, I will make sure to not ignore this game as much as I have been recently. I apologize. Please forgive me. I'm awaiting for the day that Ren finally reveals himself to the stalker that we all know that he is. I feel like I got baited a little bit with the movie earlier because I was expecting something maybe a bit spicy to happen with Ren, especially because we invited him over. I'm like... I'm glad and not glad that it happened. Not glad because I wanted to see the content of a potential spicy scene. Glad because YouTube has already given me a slap on the wrist, and I still have to figure out where I'm going to be uploading spicy videos to when I inevitably get to them. Well, that all being said, if you did enjoy this video, go ahead and leave it a like, leave a comment, share the video, perhaps even subscribe to the channel. And I will see you all in the next video. So have a good night.